Atul. So, this is Tarun. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, Tarun.
Atul is audible to me.
Hi, this is Bhavesh. Can you both of you hear?
Yeah.
Yes, loud and clear.
Good to see you, Bhavesh. I think you guys are having an event in the first week of April, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Hi, Siddhant.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
yeah, hi.
Super. Hi Bhavesh. Hi Atul.
Hey.
All right. Looking forward to this panel.
Yes.
So, what's the attendance like?
I don't know. I think we had some 400 odd registrations. I'm just checking. I was just checking with Muskan on that only. Then I don't know if is the event also started. Just give me a second, huh? I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah, please.
So I think we are live and the folks who have joined in. So for everyone, we'll start in a couple of minutes. We are waiting for the rest of the panelists to join in.
Sure.
Looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Siddhant. This is Tarun from M Caffeine.
Hi Tarun.
Hi, good to meet.
Good to meet. Yes.
We could connect offline. I'm a big fan of Shopify. We use it, but I'm generally, personally, a big fan of Shopify.
Lovely.
Good
Yeah,
to
happy.
hear this from a customer. Siddhant, you should be lucky.
Yeah, we hear both sides, but thanks Tarun for your kind words.
No worries.
Nice, Heidi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi,
Hi,
Saji.
Yes,
Good to connect.
Good to meet everyone.
We're just waiting for a few other folks to join and then we'll start.
No worries.
Hopefully, will be one of the last few virtual sessions which we do. As things open up, we can do these in person, which are obviously a lot more engaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because there's so many of these virtual events happening. There is now a physical event which is quite new, and a lot of them are wanting to kind of connect offline and network with other people. So I think yeah, physical event should be back soon.
Hi, Arjun.
Hey Atul,
Hey.
Hey, Arjun.
Arjun, hi.
Hi, Arjun.
Tarun, I'm coming twice back to Goa in March. Now you have to take out some time to meet me.
आप मिलते ही
You
नहीं
can't
होते.
say you can't say Panjim आ जाओ. हम हॉलिडे पे हैं, आपको हमारे पास आना होगा.
Done, sir. I'll come back. I'll come to Morjim this time.
I'm coming next weekend and then again 18th to 25th.
18 to 25. ठीक है, पक्का मिलते हैं. इस बार मिस हो गया.
Done.
So
My,
waiting for
my
Shantanu.
brother-in-law has also moved to Goa, by the way.
Is it?
That's why I come. Yeah, he runs Nagin sauce. You know that hot sauce.
Yes.
So he's moved to Goa as well.
I'm also meeting Raw's founder Anuj. He also moved permanently to
I
Goa.
think he's in Goa as well. Yeah.
Goa ecosystem भी धीरे-धीरे बढ़ रहा है.
Ah, nice.
It's good to work out of here.
Hi, Sairi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, all well.
Okay, good. So we are waiting for Shantanu to join, but I think a lot of folks have joined in to listen in. So maybe we can start. First of all, thanks for coming in. Welcome to Shivir, the D2C Dialogue Edition. Today in this session, we just like the focus is on discussing where is the D2C ecosystem headed, right? Like where are we, and what lies ahead, right? So let me start by opening on the first one. The D2C industry most likely will hit 100 billion mark by 2025, or multiple reports talking about that. Uh, what's your views on that? Like, do you think we're getting there? What do you think are the key inputs to getting there? Where's the market headed overall?
Well, maybe I'll start. Look, I think like maybe Tarun as well started in the early days of D2C, right? And so did I. So I started a brand in October 2016. At that time, we didn't even use the term D2C, right? So when I would tell people what I was doing, I would say I'm running an online first, digital only, online only brand, and people thought we were crazy, right? Because there were honestly no customers online. And so at that time, if I had to, if I convinced Atul you to buy Ayurveda online, it took a lot of convincing. But if I convinced you, you'd buy my product because there was nobody else, right? And from there, from the early sort of cohort of D2C brands, we've seen 2018, 19, and then the pandemic hit and behavior change, right? And what's really clear today, and what I tell founders today as well is, look, you're not solving that problem of convincing the customer to come online, because my dad, who was the father of an e-commerce entrepreneur, had never placed an order online in his life. He placed his first order on Amazon in April 20. He's now placed 50 orders on Amazon, now goes on his Instagram feed, shops D2C, and calls the brand and says, "You're in Bombay, I'm in Bombay, it's taken 3 days, why is the product not reached?" So it's clear there's a large section of consumers that never shopped online that have come online. And so the market has significantly grown. Look, we are fundamentally believers in D2C, right? Because if you speak to a founder, we'll say 100 billion, 200 billion, 500 billion. But I think if you were to just sort of step back and see what's changed, right? It's clear now that the opportunity exists, that the customers are buying. What's very different, and I mean, everyone will see this across the ecosystem, from when we started is the competition has also heated up significantly. And so what we were doing, I believe, was an average job in 2017, 2018. We didn't know our basics, etc., all of that. Today, you can't get away with that. What you're doing, 10 other people are also doing. So you need to know all your basics, whether it's using the right platform like Shopify, understanding Facebook, Google, marketing, performance marketing, building your brand. All of those things are important.
Yeah. And while you talked about the behavior change, do you think how you're thinking the value prop for consumers that has also changed? Has it become more personalized than what it was? Like if I compare a Dove, Nestle versus the brand which we have today.
I think
Yeah, Tarun should answer this question because I'm sure hundreds of people asked him, how can a caffeinated cosmetics brand scale? Right? So I think he's the perfect person to answer this question.
yeah, I totally agree with what Arjun was explaining. It has been a evolution curve for entrepreneurs like us who started, and we in fact started in October 2016 as well. And what we believe is that the consumer preferences were already changed, and that's where we arrived, and we started latching on to the overall discerned part of the consumerism, which was already what. Because if you look at internet and information, it has kind of democratized the entire platform, right? I can see what Cristiano Ronaldo is doing right now in Dubai, right?
Right.
So and so as my brother in Gwalior. So if people have access to information real time, now the awareness part is being taken care of. What used to be TV and print, etc., etc., right? So at the pace at which awareness and discernism is kind of growing, preferences have already changed. Now the brands need to be catching up to that pace, and hence we believe that D2C has an unfair advantage to do so, because you have so much talk time with your consumers. And for us, D2C is of two part. One is sales, which is people like Shopify and Shiprocket kind of triggers that. But the real part of D2C is marketing. I mean, if an offline brand is can also be a D2C brand by virtue of that marketing, because you can enter my phone screen anytime, right? And that in fact has kind of made a lot of brands uncomfortable, because actually consumer preferences are moving really fast. Now the brands are catching up, and we call it 4E philosophy at McAfee. And you need to have the most efficacious product, you need to have the best of the best ethos. And it's not just about what is happening in India. It is, since information is traveling across, it's about the world class product which you used to get, right? So ethos should be at the highest level. Then comes the experience, and then comes the emotion. If you tie in all the 4 E's in a product, there's a good chance you are probably at the same pace how consumer preferences are changing, and that's how we have been catching up. So far, consumers have been well accepting it, but still, there's a lot more to do.
And, and and how is the dialogue with the consumer being different? Right, in the past, the consumer will buy an offline brand and consume it in isolation, versus a consumer now interacting, buying, and then sort of having channels of giving out feedback as well. So how has that been different from what it was in the past? I like.
There is some background coming. Is it for me?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think some background noise is coming.
Cool.
Hello. Now it's not there. Hi,
Yeah.
Shan. Yeah, Darshita, if you can go on. Yeah. Is it better now?
Yeah, I think
Better.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm asking how the conversations with consumers being different now, like versus how it was for a traditional brand earlier.
Right. Should I take that? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
Please.
okay? So look, I think uh, resonating with what Tarun said, I think this is a massive democratization of consumption, and I say this because when I first started Shiros, I think internet was about 10 million women, and today I think at least 300 million women have tasted internet. And in a country where mobility is hard, this is just a kid in a candy shop. And it has just taken away so many barriers, both of consumption and production. Second is, I think a lot of what we're reaping is last 2 decades of macro tailwinds, right? I think a lot of removal of, I think, macro obstacles. Consumption has to be created in economies, and I hope this doesn't become an obstacle in a post-pandemic world. And that's one of the red flags I do think about sometimes. And third is just, I mean, India is just so many countries. Every city is a country, and you can literally pick one and create consumption around that. Uh, so when we look at that, we see that one, we've been investing in communities. Of course, thankfully, they are in vogue now, and it's not as uncool. But we definitely see consumption in everything. Consumption of content. Anybody who comes to the internet first consumes content, and then if there's a little bit of a journey before they make the first purchase. And I think pandemic accelerated that whole journey. Adoption of UPI went up, and we work with women across every probable pin code in this country, and we now know that the barrier that existed for a long time. About buying online or selling online or creating content online or sort of owning a little piece of real estate online, it's completely gone. In fact, I think what we're going to see is more cohortization of this whole phenomena. We will get deeper with different kind of consumers. Women, we're already seeing, you know, very very specific requests from certain pockets for certain kind of products. So like they say, poor people don't want poor products, but they definitely want a lot more value. And I think we're seeing those patterns emerge in when we do that. When we look at Shiros, we see a couple of uh, I think there are some amazing opportunities being unlocked. One in creating very cohort specific behaviors. So for example, the cohort I look at is actually not the buyer but the seller, and because D2C is also an opportunity for the seller. So in some ways we are aggregating that to say, hey. And offline companies did this for many years, but that model never changed for about 50 years. Tupperware and Amway did this, but it had its own little grumpiness of the model because of the MLM and all of that. But there is also a D2C seller who's probably a consumer first. So we see this our sellers would first go and buy a product, make a review online, put it on their Facebook and put it on the Instagram, put it on Shiro's, and then say, why don't you buy it from me? So we are seeing so many dots getting connected. And I think what we are seeing is we're going to see this ecosystem emerge.
Mm.
The Unilever world created an ecosystem, the distributor, the factory, the retailer. I think we're going to see different ecosystems emerge where this supply chain and this demand meets in a more internet sort of a way. Communities first, content first, trust first, and very, very specific products for very specific set of consumers.
Yeah, I just want to chime in on that one as well. Yeah, it's actually totally to your point, right, Sairi? You said the ecosystem is developing, right? And I think we often say this at Shopify. We are in the business of arming the rebels, right? Our goal also here is to basically democratize technology, right? Like make it more accessible, and that's what's led to brands who create these amazing products, create unique experiences. And what D2C really does is it helps them control every aspect of what the consumer experiences, right, from the website to say a unique shipping experience, all the way to tools that are available to manage your consumers and their expectations, right? So um, uh, today we see like it's bare minimum that the experience of shopping has to be good, the pricing has to be good, the product has to be good, the service promise has to be met. And we've seen a lot of Indian businesses do that at scale, right? Like Tarun's company here, Arjun's company, fantastic products.
No, Siddhant, good that you talked about enabler and technology as an enabler. And I think that has been like I think places like Shopify have been a key enabler to driving the D2C growth. Just one like we are at a stage on the technology evolution, right? Like where there's the outside the ecosystem of say marketplaces, there's a lot which as a brand, as an entrepreneur, as a new seller I can do. There are multiple enablers. How do you see that pan out over the next 1 2 years? Like we go to 2024, what does the tech ecosystem look like? What do you think? How will it change? How will the ecosystem of D2C be more empowered? What are the key things which will come through over the next couple of years?
Yeah, totally. Happy to.
Yeah, I can take this.
Yeah, please,
Yeah.
Bhavesh.
Yeah, so two things. I think social commerce is fueling the growth of D2C in a big way. People who had never thought of entrepreneurship are now looking at starting in a small way, looking at growth via these channels. I can clearly see a lot of examples which are coming to us where women entrepreneurs have started in a small way with a small investment and without even a basic Shopify website, trying an Instagram commerce and looking at at least 200-300% growth. We've got so many examples during our research when we did the D2C yearbook. So one is social commerce. It's really going to pick up in the next I think 1 or 2 years. More and more such platforms are driving commerce. Second is analytics is going to play a key role in understanding the consumer behavior. That makes the brand also look at the innovation in the product, whether it is product design or understanding what the consumer needs. And finally, the last mile fulfillment is going to play a key role while enabling the experience for a consumer. So according to me, this is the next 2 years where we see this growth.
Yeah.
I just like to add a little bit to that, Atul, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, totally right. Like in terms of like undercurrents and tech advancements that are happening, right? Like I see this platform um, trend only evolving, right? Like so, for example, Shopify is one part of that is a platform that sort of enables this ecosystem, right? I see this ecosystem growing, and I see more and more platforms enabling interconnections, right? So from a technology perspective, at least, right, like what I've seen is that technology that was per se only available to say was only being enabled through marketplaces is now available to every brand, right? That's one trend that happened. And then what we've also seen is that buying, which was, obviously started on marketplaces, but then evolved to social media platforms, is now going to become uh, more available across various touchpoints on the internet, but not just the internet, but in an omni fashion, right? So you'll need to have technology basically enable those journeys, because your consumer is not in one place. He'll be maybe behind, he might be on your platform, he might be on a marketplace, he might be on a social platform, he might be reading news. So how can you grab their attention across these multiple touch points becomes very, very important. And I think technology that enables those journeys, right, will be very important. So we are seeing a lot of Shopify merchants use our platform to not just sell through their online store, but also enable some of these journeys.
I think that's a very nice way of putting the omni channel and describing omni channel. Omni channel is not only online and offline, but within online also there are multiple channels. And like you said, Siddhant, maybe that's the next evolution of, it's not only the D2C website, but how am I sort of engaging with customers across and potentially transacting there as well. Yeah. Shantanu, you've built a great brand over the years, right? Like again, I'm saying something which Bhavesh mentioned on customer analytics, data, and technology. What we were discussing. Your views on how the journey has been, and how this will be a key enabler or a differentiator for D2C going forward.
Hey, first of all, sincere apologies for joining late. I'm actually down with COVID, and for some reason was not. This was not reflecting in my calendar, or maybe, So very apologies to all the other panelists who joined on time, and I've been listening with keen interest to some of the observations being made. Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Thanks a lot. I think it's been a long journey. Most personal care companies are built over centuries, right? So by that standard, we are still very, very young. It's only been 5 years, but must say that enablers like Shopify, companies like Amazon and Flipkart, and everyone else who invests in warehousing and logistics enablement, and the entire ecosystem of capital has actually helped entrepreneurs like me kind of be accelerated in the way we kind of get to market and build a brand. I do feel that having your own store through D2C is an amazing way to showcase your value proposition, your offerings to consumers, and to build a top of the funnel, which otherwise, in the absence thereof, would be much, much harder to build. I think order of magnitude 10, right? Having said that, I'm tempered in my optimism of D2C, because I see it as a channel to the same consumer. So unless the number of consumers are going up, or the amount each consumer is spending is going up, increasing channels is not going to increase overall net offtakes as such, right? So it will democratize, as Sari said, it will democratize access to the consumer, but you will not be able to build disproportionately large businesses. I keep seeing these D2C panels where there are people saying D2C will be 100 billion now. I think that's complete nonsense. So my view is that I think this is a long we are playing a long game on India. I think we have a government that is stable, we have entrepreneurs that are outstanding. I think we have a consumer class that is becoming more barbell, right? You have a larger middle class, hopefully, which will spend more money and save less, and kind of keep money rotating. But I think these are longer journeys. They are not there. They won't happen because someone just made a tech product and built websites. So I'm a little more tempered. From a personal standpoint, Bombay Shaving Company is roughly 7 to 10% D2C, but our funnel development is significantly much more digital first, right? I also recognize that as a hair removal, shaving kind of brand, we are lower on engagement, higher on frequency. So I understand that consumers might buy us in different channels, and my own opinions might be a little biased because of that. But we find the ability to use analytics gives us a lot of insight into consumers. We know, for example, what they value in packaging, what fragrances they value, the reviews they write about us, whether it's on D2C or in marketplaces, helps our product development, our communication a lot more. So our feedback cycles are a lot faster. Our marketing is a lot more efficient. But I do recognize that the growth of the company from 250 crores per year to 1,000 will not happen because the channel becomes efficient. Efficiency is only one thing. I think consumption needs to improve. So, but I'm optimistic long term.
No, interesting observation. Anyone wants to add anything on that? Any perspective on what Shantanu shared?
I'd like to share something. I think I totally agree with Shantanu. While I think uh, this is like we're riding tailwinds right now. We will see continued growth for next 2 years, 3 years, but and Deepak Garg had a really interesting LinkedIn post the other day around unlocking core economic value. The truth is, we're still a country where a lot of people have actually lost their income in last 3 years, 4 years. Pandemic sort of made it worse. And if I mean, in fact, I do think if the entire D2C industry needs a common cause to work on, it's actually not D2C, it's healthcare and education, because those are the biggest you know wallet spends in India for middle class families, and that's an opportunity to unlock consumption. And I think at least at a grand level, it's unlocking consumption in India. And of course, it's good for country in every which way. There are 30 other economic theories that will sort of emerge, but we need new set of consumers. We need more people to spend on different products, and of course we have an absolutely robust ecosystem that delivers, right from the bigger platforms to the emerging ones to content to D2C. There's no doubt of that. We started a small content D2C business, and in 6 months we went to 150 brands, with literally, half a person working on it. So clearly the opportunity is immense, but we're super early, we're super nascent. This is a long term game, and my sense is if we have some of the fundamentals in place, this is not just $100 billion opportunity, then it's much bigger. But
Right.
from today we stand where we stand, there's a real fear of headwinds, which is not directly related to D2C. The industry has nothing to do with it.
Got it. But just on that, yeah, like D2C, in a sense, there is this direct selling and also the ability of the brand to be able to communicate very easily with the consumers, right? Be very specific on for example, I didn't talked about the Ayurveda product, right? Like, and I'm saying, or Tarun, the caffeinated beauty products. It's that you're able to engage, and I think in a sense that trend potentially will continue. The avenues and the scale might not just be the online channels, but look at different aspects of it as well. I had a link question on what Shantanu you were talking about and open for the panel. How do you see the role of hybrid come in, right? Like I said, D2C, one view is that I'm closer to the consumer and I have a lot of data, so I can give very personalized uh, products for the consumer in a sense on the specific needs which were not being covered by the likes of Unilever and Nestle. So far, it has been through online channels where it has been a hands off. But now we have some of the brand opening up physical presence and stores, right? Like, how do you see that pan out? Do you think that is the differentiator which takes this to the 100 billion or above, or it continues to be online heavy?
Is that for Shantanu or can I take that?
All three of you, Tarun, Arjun, anyone, Shantanu. Arjun, you can take it, and then I'll move to the rest for the review.
So look, I think this is what everyone is been discussing now, right? Like, what's the ceiling for D2C, and at some point will a brand have to go offline? And to be honest, there's no right answer to this one. I think um, at scale, once a brand does hit scale, there is a huge opportunity present in offline, right? And Tarun, Shantanu can both discuss this as well as to with their experience. Having said that, I think there is an advantage to start online first for an early or mid-stage brand, and that is that you have limited resources at this stage, you have limited capital, and so you're also not able to uh, pay those listing fees, have that longer credit cycle, and also if your brand is not known, it's very difficult to generate offtake. And if you're not able to generate offtake in offline, then you're basically doomed, right? So I think once a brand reaches a sort of mid-level or a reasonable size in D2C, the path to offline also becomes easier because your product is then demanded as well at the stores. Customers are asking for it, so the terms of trade actually become better for you. But I think yes, there's huge scope available, and if we're able to build brands online and then take them offline, that's the holy grail, right?
I think totally
I
agree.
think, yeah, I completely agree with Arjun, right? I think people confuse D2C by being this
Yeah.
uh, this approach to becoming a large company. Uh, I think I equate D2C as a channel to crutches. Okay, so it's great when you want to stand up, and I think it's amazing. It allows you to break the barriers of distribution and marketing both, because with small amounts of money and like with one warehouse, you can actually put your product in every pin code in the country if you are able to create the consumer for it. But crutches are great to stand up and horrible when you want to run, right? So you should know when you want to let go of the crutches and start doing what is mid stage, as Arjun calls it. Is very right. Like once you are standing up and you have a certain speed, then you are going to start building consumers outside of your funnel, and people are going to see, like, end of the day you're on a phone, right? How much time does a consumer really have on a 5-inch screen? If every brand in the country wants to make their own store, it's like an endless mall. You will never get the consumer. You might have a beautiful looking store with great shelves and amazing experience, but no one will come there, right? And it becomes expensive to get people there. So end of the day, you need to figure out where consumers are going to go and shop, and where shopping becomes more naturally for them, which is beyond your store. Especially depending upon the engagement of the category you operate in, right? So personal care and beauty, for example, on the beauty spectrum of things, it's more higher engagement. Personal care is lower engagement. If you look at electronics, of course, phones, etc., are higher engagement, but some other products might be lower engagement. So if you're a low engagement category in impulse situation, you need to be able to, and everyone does this. I don't know if there is a single D2C brand which is only pure D2C, upwards of 120, 130 crores per year. I don't know a single one. And as brand scale, percentage of D2C kind of keeps going down. I think that's what everyone is seeing. Plus, companies like Facebook, Google, etc., are becoming more and more expensive. So, I think the fundamentals of brand building will remain unchanged. You need to be able to create a proposition for your consumer at the right price point, which is differentiated, and make it available. Of course, D2C allows you to tell the story in a much smarter way, etc. But as you scale, I think one must be cognizant that you're building a brand across channels. You'll have to find ways to make it like, I've seen, I think M Caffeine has its own store. Dr. Vaidya, I think, of course, does it. And a lot of, like, Urban Ladder was one of the first companies that realized that selling furniture, fantastic, right? High OVs, amazing brand, superb app experience. But realized very quickly that moving offline becomes important for the category. So I think overall, important to recognize that consumer is the same. Like, you're not going to build out a business because you have a nice looking website.
So just to qualify, we don't have a store yet. It's in the
Arey,
pipe.
but I keep seeing, oh, you don't have a store there. That's how big your brand is. Tarun, and I think that you already do.
So at least काम ठीक चल रहा है मतलब.
Yeah, but love your stuff around the content you guys put out, the packaging in that cap, like that Starbucks looking coffee mug thing. Outstanding innovation. Like, that's the stuff that builds brands. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I just want to add, right? Like, so we've seen multi-million dollar brands come out on our platform, right? Like doing scale, but absolutely agree with what you said there, Shantanu, right? Like consumer is across multiple touch points, and the future is being able to have that one system which allows you to basically be able to run your business across multiple touch points, right?
Quantify the largest D2C portal that Shopify has in India. Quantify it.
I can't reveal merchant
Don't
data,
tell the don't tell me the name. Give me the number.
but it does run into the high tens of millions. So
Tens of millions. So 10 million is 70 crores.
dollars.
10 million is 70 crores. No, that's what I'm saying.
So
Tens of millions is
High tens of millions. Yeah.
So 150
High tens of
crore.
billions is still 600 crores. It's again, I'm saying, like, we have to put it into perspective. Okay, so
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
agree
yeah,
with you. I
yeah.
think it's a fantastic thing that we.
100%. 100%. I
But
agree.
I'm actually very curious without knowing the name. High tens of millions is a very Donald Trump answer. Like it doesn't quantify anything, gives very little broad qualitative approach to things. So what is high tens of
I'm,
millions? Is
I'm
it an
gonna.
established brand? Is it a new company? How much of that is funded capital? How much of that is natural consumer capital? That's the question. No, it is. You can't.
Yeah.
It's very hard to say, but
But I think the point, the key point being that, yeah, like while you have some customers who will always be transacting online, there will be a large chunk who you'll have to engage offline. And before Tarun, you come in, just a question you can cover when you talk about, like, how do you manage the experience of online and offline shopping being different? Online, you know everything about the customer. You can customize on the flow, on the website, be very specific, recommendations, equal, etc. When it comes to offline, you don't have that rich data or interaction with the customer. So, like, how do you think of that, and how do you, yeah.
So on the previous one, I think D2C is just a channel. So you'll have to treat it just as a channel. It is not the world. We're a consumer brand and we'll go wherever consumers are. So nobody has that one final shot in the nail saying that, if I do a hybrid model, I'll succeed. I think it's a function of too many things. But to answer your question, we are not a tech company. I think we keep on saying that. We're app we're a consumer brand. We are not an apps download brand who will say that मेरा app हर जगह same रहेगा, हर platform पे same रहेगा. Consumer experience is end to end funnelized. We're not. We're a consumer brand. It is too many things. It starts from a product which should be efficacious, which should have the highest amount of ethos. It should give the same feeling, which is the experience. And at the end of it, it should evoke the same amount of or same type of emotion which the brand wants to have as an emotional connect. And I can change it to engagement when I'm on digital, but if I'm on offline, my product has to be the same, right? If it's a body scrub, which is our top seller, across channel ye same rehna padega. And and that's why we keep on telling that don't optimize for the things which probably is not required as a brand, right? We can create one of the most sharpest website, which is our D2C channel, but it will only contribute to some double digits, right? At the end of the day, my consumer will go on each and every mall possible in the nearest store possible. How do we do that? So it works backwards. It is very centralized to the product, to the brand, and the key ethos of those 4E philosophies we have. We kind of bind in anything which we do. So if we create a body wash, we don't want to create the next body wash in the market. We create in the M caffeine way. And if we create it right, and if we market it right with the same brand philosophy, I think the purchase can happen anywhere. The brand would mota mota would be same. So that's how we take care of it. We might be really dumb in by doing so. So far, it has been working well for us. We'll keep on tweaking, but we keep on saying that a consumer experience can be a bit personalized on our own platform, but on an Amazon or Nykaa, which is not just made for us, for everyone, for any category possible, you just can't tell your story in the most best possible way. So tell your story the best possible way on your platform. Let the people engage of 5-10 million people who are coming, but your target audience is probably 100 million, right? So solve for the larger audience rather than a subset, which is a channel. And that being said, we are still bullish on D2C.
Thanks, Arun. I think you talked about the product discovery and getting the right consumer insight on what to build. Like a lot of entrepreneurs who would be listening in, any advice for them on how to go about identifying? Okay, this is what I want to build. How did you arrive at? This is a need gap because there can be multiple. How do you do the first 6 months of building a D2C brand? Sairi, like you worked with a lot of them. Like your views.
Well, to my discredit, I've never built a D2C brand, so I'm still. But I do hold one opinion for sure that I think we will, as we see the category grow, the truth is we will also see a lot more smaller brands being built. So the long tail continues to get longer, and we continue to see, like we're seeing a lot of what I call kitchen garden brands, like literally, you know. Uh, Hobby turned business brands, so who will probably never even cross maybe 10 crores. But I think that base is going to constantly sort of feed the market, and also maybe it will add to the noise and the clutter, but it's definitely expanding the category. Second is, I think my sense is between my own platform where I'm 100% relying on my website or my channel, and the Amazon. I think we're going to see uh, at least couple of new platforms emerge, whether they're content, whether they are seller first, whether they are in some ways that distributor has to be displaced, right? The Unilever distributor is still not displaced in the D2C world. We haven't cracked it, you know. And my sense is that model is based on win-win-win instead of sort of saying, hey, when I do exactly on my own platform, I'm optimizing only for one goal, which is great. But if you have to expand the size of the pie, then a lot more stakeholders have to have skin in the game. So whether it is, I mean, I think the creator platforms have done a little bit of that, and a lot of brands have grown on back of that. But I do believe that there's an opportunity and a little bit of social engineering and real engineering in terms of creating platforms that are uh, that are essentially middle path. At least at Shiros we look at it that way. We do nothing in the D2C space, D2C space. We don't create a product. We don't do logistics. We don't do supply chain. But we create a value that makes sure that the brand wins, the entrepreneur wins, and of course we win. So I think a lot of value still left on the table, and some of these opportunities might be exciting. Like I can totally see, for example, a D2C, uh, you know, kitchen brand lab where a lot of creators, a lot of home chefs are literally saying these are the 5 brands they are experimenting on. They spend 6 months and then bring it to market. And we see today, in solopreneurs, but just institutionalizing some of these formats, or creators in other categories, gardening, for example. The categories with more stories will need more creators to come in, or more entrepreneurial innovators to come in. Their their talent and platforms can give them more leverage.
Got it. I think a question for you, Bhavesh. We have discussed a lot of D2C brand, and we discussed a bit of they going hybrid. There are a lot of offline first brands, yeah, who want to go digital and have been taking the first steps. What do you think? Like, is in future for them? What have they learned? What do they need to learn more of? How do they engage with customers in a different way than they have been doing like for 50s and 60s of years?
So we've seen all the traditional brands are now slowly moving online. So first we saw them taking the marketplace route and trying to sell stocks which are not going into the store to get it into a discounted mode and sell it on the marketplaces. However, pandemic in the last 2 years has shifted their model towards e-commerce in a big way. Because stores were not they were not operational, and they had to be connected with the consumer. So they thought e-commerce is the right model to look for. And if you talk to any of the brands, even a brand which is 10 store to a 100 store, all of them are talking about e-commerce as a next big thing. And currently, if you look at the numbers, the e-commerce in 2 years back was about 6 to 7% of their total business, which is now coming down to about 40 to 50% of the total business, and that's going to grow. So if you look at the business models have evolved for brick and mortar stores who are traditional retailers. Many of them have now started investing in technology, whether it is in the front end or enabling the last mile and so on, rather than putting up newer stores. Yes, there is a need to put up newer stores, but the ratio has completely changed. Where they were in a year, where opening about 100 stores has now gone down to about 50, 60 stores, and investing that money into the e-commerce segment. Secondly, the mindset of the founder has also been, that has changed due to pandemic. There is a separate team which is now full-fledged, getting into e-commerce. So there's a team which is deployed, which is completely taking care of the D2C segment. So we see, this particular thing growing in the next 2 to 3 years. Lesser stores, more focus on e-commerce is what we see.
So thanks for that. I think yeah, the
Yeah.
journey. Sorry, somebody
Yeah, I
was.
was just saying 100% totally agree with what Bhavesh said. Right? Like what used to be just, hey, we need to be online has become like, oh, we need to actually have like a presence, we need to do solid business, we need to, our consumers should be able to shop. All of that has become real. We've seen such a massive shift. Some of our enterprise merchants are now the likes of, Tata Westside, Go Colors, folks who, were primarily focusing on their offline business, right? And we've seen that shift. And we've not just seen like the largest brands there, but we've seen like these regional brands like Naidu Hall or Charmas, like folks who were like, focusing on a given region and were primarily offline, had like 10 to 20 stores, maybe 50 stores. They've also like, prioritized their online journeys. So we've seen like a step shift when it comes to, thinking about online and e-commerce for these brands.
So I think of the ones I have observed, just to add on to that, I think it's a one is to say I want to be digital, and one is to have a mindset of doing things differently. What is required when you want to engage with the customers in a different manner when it is digital, and hence it also potentially stems down to how the DNA of the org is evolving to be able to cater to like the D2C operation versus it being a channel. Like it can't be a channel like modern trade, general trade, cash and carry, or D2C is a channel. If you think of it as a channel, then yeah, it will be a tough one for the. Yeah. So I'll take a couple of questions from what we have from our people who are attending. So first one, Tarun Shantanu Arjun, for you, how do you see the trends evolving in tier two, tier three cities in the next couple of years, and how do you see the target audience and brand positioning evolve for your brands in response to that?
So I'll maybe start with this one because Dr. Vedya's was not a metro focused brand, right? So 82% of our orders came from outside the top 10 cities. Surprisingly, actually, while TikTok was alive, it was 45% of my ad spend or 40% of my ad spend. So you got to, as a brand owner and a brand operator, be agile to think not like yourself, but like your customers. And so using vernacular advertising, using ways to connect with this customer more than the way we behave, right? That was my big learning. The opportunity was really, really, really large for us.
So you're saying empathize with the customer, understand the customer.
The
Yeah.
customer is not you in all cases, and so you got
Yes.
to put yourself in the customer's shoes rather than react the way you would react.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with Arjun completely. I think one is consumer is not you. A second thing is I think the consumer in non-metro India is, if I can put it this way, more aspirational than the consumer in metro India because a lot of things are so near yet so far for them. So access to good malls is not there, but for example, access to great content on Netflix, Prime, etc. is right there. So they know what the world is looking like. They know the clothes they want to wear. They know the products they want to use. They have the internet. They're absorbing all the right content. They have money to spend. They don't have sources to do it. So I think it's a uniquely positioned. If you look at the 100 to 200 cities after the top 8 metros in India, we'll see very similar behavior from an aspirational purchasing standpoint. And a lot of times, like earlier mistakes we made were very, very naive, right? We assume that tier 2, tier 3 India is vernacular India. Not really. It may not be the case, right? Some of it is, some of it is not. There is more vernacular offtake for us in Bombay than in Jabalpur, for example. Okay, so there are a lot of things that break for you because of a very naive worldview. I had a very naive worldview of what urban India was. I never grew up in rural India. I only would visit family and so on who lived there. I come from Indore, which is which today has become a city, and I live in Pune, and today I live in Delhi. So I've only had exposure to urban India, and most of our employees are like that, right? Because our headquarters are in Delhi. Um, so a lot of things break, and I think I'm sure even like if you look at Dr. White, there's very different approach to things. I think Arjun would have learned a lot basis how consumers would have reacted, and so would Tarun, and I think it's very interesting to see. But I think the one theme that is constant is that aspirational quotient is on the up, right? So and you can measure this by very simple proxies, right? Sensitivity to discount is going down, sensitivity to price is going down. you're seeing higher you're seeing the way we measure it is delta between market leader versus premium brand. And earlier that number would be small, which is people would take lesser bets on more expensive products. That is going down. People are taking more bets, right? That number is increasing. So younger consumers are buying a lot more. Younger consumers are also a lot more risk taking. New job, they're living with their parents, so rent is not there, COVID especially, so all the pocket money or salary goes into buying interesting things on websites here and there. So lot of things are coming together, and your ability to market and tap into those insights is crucial. Being first will always give you advantage, especially in cases like maybe M Cafe and Bombay Shaving Company, where you are fighting for a place in the bathroom. And there is only one face wash or two face washes. There's only one body wash, a couple of soaps, one razor, one shaving foam. Like in most Indian households are single or double bathroom. You're not going to have many households with the third bathroom, right? So they're fighting for limited real estate, and your ability to premiumize that shelf is increased because of access to consumer offer.
Yeah, I think totally agree with Arjun and Shantanu. Just to add to it, there's enough and more aspirations in tier two, tier three. Uh, there is purchasing power, as Shantanu mentioned. Our AOVs are actually similar in case of the so-called metros, east to tier two and tier three. Our contribution is upwards towards 55%, and this is our channel. So Flipkart can be really solid in certain geography, so no implication of that. Our channel. I think what we learned over 3 years after having talked to a lot of customers, that why would that happen? The hypothesis was that since information is going places at real time, if I choose Arjun in Malabar Hill, I need to find similar Arjun personality probably in Mahoba. Nobody would have heard about it, right? Internet hai, delivery. So it was more like finding more the similar digital personas across geographies, right? And the moment you try to find those geographies, you have a chance to make that sell happen because the hypothesis is that these are similar customers, right? Now, one of the things which we realized after talking to a lot of customers is the moment you find a way in to evolve the existing lifestyle, it can have an involvement in the product, it can help have an aspiration in the product. The moment you find that evolution button in the lifestyle of that consumer, because the avenues are very limited, they
Hmm.
jump on. And nobody would have imagined that our body scrub is used in a place where the population is less than 7,000. It's a township, and we had to locate it on the map. He hai kahan, and then we called the customer because they have access to information and aspiration and purchasing power. You just need to find that button. Brands who can find that. I mean, you don't have to differentiate between India and Bharat. Then it's just the terminology of VCs. Your market is open then.
Market is consumer backwards, and you'll have similar set of consumers across the country, whether it is India and Bharat. The density might be different. I'll take the liberty of taking one last question. I think an interesting one. What's your opinion on brand loyalty? Uh, right, with so many brands, do you think the loyalty of a consumer towards the brand goes up because they really like the product and it's a very involved purchase and I buy it? While in the past I wasn't very concerned about a Dove and a Lifebuoy and I was flirting, versus I have so many options and I keep flirting. What do you see? Like, do you have sort of loyal customers, and how do you see it evolve?
I can take that. So my view is that the Indian consumer is an intelligent one, and between men and women there are differences, right? So men are harder to engage, easier to please. Women are easier to engage, harder to please, right? So once you enter the male bathroom, like if you are a shaving foam or something, you enter the bathroom, the form factor is good, the product works. Men won't talk about it a lot, but will continue to buy, right? So your bar is lower. For women, obviously the bar is much higher, far more evolved consumer group. They'll obviously talk a lot on WhatsApp groups, engage, Instagram, share, all of that. But once you're in the bathroom, the product has to achieve a very different level of expectation compared to men. So I think between the both, women are lesser loyal than men are and have a higher bar. Obviously, choices for women are a lot more, so the ability to experiment is a lot higher. While for men it's lower. So that's, I think, one broad this thing. But I think overall, right, the Indian consumer rewards a good product at a good price always, right? So For example, if you put a great product in the hand of the Indian consumer, they will continue to buy it unless they are, and they will be experimentative. They'll try out. And the best example for this is deodorants, right? Deodorants is a very cluttered category. Every product is like a commoditized set of 200 brands in the category, but the category was built by deodorant developers like Unilever, etc., who built it for the American male who liked subtle fragrances and this and that, right? The mask hona chahiye, all of that. But the Indian male is not like that. So when fog came in, many people think fog became successful because it was value for money. It was not value for money. That was maybe the first purchase, but it's a 50% plus repeat product. And the reason for that is because the Indian male likes a lot of fragrance. And
Yes.
when you go to work in morning in Bombay and you come back home in the evening after a sweaty day and you take off your shirt and you still smell fragrance, you feel, yeah, the deodorant worked. And that is 70% of Indian men sweat. And when a firm is able to do that because of higher fragrance, which is very anti-category premium, you crack the market. So the product is premium by Axe. Many people don't know this. Fog is premium to Axe across sizes,
Yes.
right? It is got no fragrance amount in it, and it's broken the category. So, is there loyalty in the category? Probably not. Has Fog figured out a way to crack amazing repeat basis great product? Yes. So I think repeat. You need to get the product right at the right price, and you'll win the consumer over in mind.
Doesn't necessarily mean less loyalty. Better product which solves customer need really well. I'll, I'll probably, I think we are out of time. Thanks a lot, everyone. I think very insightful insights around where we are headed. I think a lot of interesting insights for young entrepreneurs on like how to build a brand, the value prop, the tier two, tier three cities. A lot of work for, I believe, brands to work on. Thanks a lot, everyone. It was lovely having you on the panel. Bye.
Thank you, Atul. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arthur. Thanks, everyone.